Welcome to MTP Boston. I'm your host, Michael Marcangelo, joined by my guys, DK Sizzle, Dave Clark, and Hollywood Rayshawn Buchanan. It is January 11th, 2024. It is a day that will live in infamy. It is the day that Bill Belichick was fired by the New England Patriots after 24 seasons. There was a press conference today with Kraft and Bill, and they went over and above trying to make it so that we understood that it was mutually parting ways. It wasn't. That's my opinion. We can get into that, but just a little bit of a recap. Bill Belichick, 333 career wins, 266 of those were with the Patriots. It is worth noting that he's been 29-39 since Tom Brady left for Tampa Bay. So I'm going to start off with you, DK, the man who's just been consuming Bill Belichick content all day. What were your thoughts on, your initial thoughts on the press conference and when you first heard that it was actually going to happen?
Well, I was sort of in denial about it, I think, because I kind of kept thinking nah, they'll figure it out. You and I talked on the other show this week about what I thought the Patriots should do. Cause as you know, I'm like a big fan of the guy, as I'm not, for the listeners that don't know me on this show, I'm not a Patriots fan, I'm a Bears fan, but I've always just really respected his game. I like defensive coaches. But as far as the thing that stuck out to me the most today was definitely the fact that he was not at all subtle about the fact that he's not done coaching. Everything, he didn't say I'm not done coaching, but he might as well have. There was a lot of can't wait to come back here was the big quote that jumped out to me. And I think that's good for the league, to be honest with you. I think that a fresh start is probably what's best for all involved. It seems probably Vrabel's going to come in now to New England. I mean, for all intents and purposes, that seems like everybody's first choice. But yeah, I mean, it was kind of bittersweet, even from a neutral party perspective, because I really, you never actually see him that emotive. He was kind of, he made that joke at the top of the press conference, I haven't seen as many cameras in here since we signed Tebow, which is actually fucking hilarious. I didn't know he had that in him. I was that's really funny, Bill. Good for you, man. He wore a suit. I think that should have been the first sign that it was something that was what the press conference was all about. And yeah, like you said, they were at pains to say it was mutual. I'm sure it wasn't not amicable. I'm sure I doubt they had a knockdown, drag out screaming fight or anything like that. I'm sure they were professional about it. But yeah, I guess if it was probably up to Bill, just knowing the kind of competitor that he is, he probably would have wanted to right the ship himself and get those wins, get that win record in New England. But I do think he cares about legacy. I think that he's a football guy. He's a guy with a football brain. Everybody knows the stories of if you go to his basement, there's just thousands of tapes of different games that he likes, and he can tell you every play of all his favorite games, and he's got this mega mind, and he cares about legacy, and he cares about the history of the league, and he wants to be the winningest coach of all time, and he's going to go get that record, I think, as long as he stays alive. But yeah, I mean, as far as I know, you're going to bring this up, and we'll talk about it more extensively. But as far as the win-loss record, with Brady, without Brady, you got to remember, there's reasons he got the job in the first place. Him and Saban in Cleveland and the stuff that went down there, and he's got 8 rings. He's still got one more than Tom. So just putting that out there. I respect the guy. I'm sad to see him go from New England. I really thought he was the guy to right the ship for you guys, but I'm happy to be wrong. We'll see how it goes for everybody. Maybe it works out for everyone.
Ray, your thoughts on the press conference and your immediate reaction when you saw the little ticker come across your smartphone this morning?
Well, the press conference made me throw up. It was pathetic.
Oh, why?
It seemed super forced. I was surprised it even went 10 minutes.
I ate it up. I was this is great. Everybody's friends.
Yeah, and I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm always a Patriot. Get the fuck out of here. It was so. It just seemed so forced. Now, yes, everything that Dave just said about him. Yes, he's a great coach of all time. We'll never take that away from him. But there's no way he wanted to walk away from $25 million a year. He just did. So,
he's not.
No, right, but I'm saying, but going forward, he obviously wanted to stay. I'm saying I don't think he ever wanted to
see the highest paid coach.
Oh, by far.
By a lot, I would imagine. 25. Yeah, I didn't realize it was that much.
but we don't know how much his coaching salary is because he was technically a coach and GM. So we don't actually know how they divvy it up.
Yeah, that's
So
true. Either way, by far, but from someone that leads personnel and was coaching combined, he was by far more than anybody out there.
Yeah.
So, that was a known fact. But yeah, I mean, I get it. I mean, I'm glad. I guess you could say they chose to go, amicably, or have that split like that. I didn't think they were gonna say that he was outright fired, because that, to me, that's really what it was. I mean, they can't convince me otherwise. But yeah, I mean, listen, 24 years, once again, the good by far obviously outweighed the bad. But it's just unfortunate that obviously, the last few years weren't up to par, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, thankful for the 24 years for sure. I mean, I'm glad that he was here and that we saw two decades of dominance, that regardless of what people think now in this current era, it would never, ever be duplicated again.
Yeah, my thoughts on all of it today. I did think that the press conference was a little forced, and I do agree that it was scripted, but I did not think that Bill was. If you told me going into it that Bill was going to come out looking like the one that was just going off the cuff and reading by and playing by emotions, I would have been like, yeah, fuck you. He's just going to be like a 10-word little thing. But no, he even got a little choked up when he was talking about the fans, right? And the reason why I think that that this obviously was him getting fired is because not 2 days ago or 3 days ago was he talking about the fact that he was still under contract for next year. The first time in 24 years that he's ever mentioned his fucking contract. And if things actually ended well, they wouldn't end. The perfect ending for this would be for him to break Shula's record as a member of the New England Patriots, and not in 6 years from going 4-13, but in 2 more from going 9-8 or 10-7. I really liked the fact that he opened up by saying, I'll be excited to come back here, because he, as Dave said, he just left no doubt he's not done. And I think we'll talk a little bit more about where we think he's going to go later. But to what you just said, Ray, and I'm interested in DK's opinion because, again, he's not a Patriots fan. I think it's going to be a little bit different than us. How much of the last 4 years hurt his legacy, if at all, to you, DK?
To me, they didn't. I mean, I feel like I've been on record for this. I feel like the level of success that he, I guess the word would be, attained, even though, there is all this Brady speculation, how much he had to do with it, et cetera, et cetera. I feel like that buys you time. I feel like it buys you time in the same way that he's going to be able to walk into any organization in the NFL right now and say, I want to be the coach of your team. And they're going to say, yes. It's a no-brainer, right? Because of the success. So, I mean, tangibly, I think there's probably, off the top of my head, 4 to 6 teams that wouldn't fire their current coach to have Bill Belichick, but basically everybody else would probably be like, yeah, fuck it. I mean, we can get Bill Belichick. Let's get him. And if it just seems like the kind of simplest explanation is the truest one. That old adage, he's clearly a good football coach. And he's clearly the best football coach. If his legacy is the best coach ever, that hasn't changed. Nobody can come in here. Nobody, even if they were trolling, could come onto this podcast right now and not get eviscerated by any argument I would make, or you guys would make back to them, about who the best coach of all time is in the NFL, at least, right? I mean, maybe you could make an argument for certain college football successes, or if you expand it out to all sports, there's questions to be had. But as far as the National Football League goes, he's the best one. It's as close to objective as you can get when discussing best and worst in sports. It's as close to Michael Jordan was the best basketball player of all time as you can get, right? So to me, in fact, that's actually, just as a quick aside, a little stupid. I know that we all say he's the Michael Jordan of XY, but we actually do argue that GOAT debate in basketball, pretty aggressively. And Wayne Gretzky would actually be the better example, because there's no debate if you look at Wayne Gretzky's numbers, but I digress. There's really no debate about Bill Belichick being the best coach of all time. And if anyone tried to come in here and argue that, we would all absolutely clown them. It would take absolutely no time at all to just destroy anything that they're possibly saying. So how did it affect his legacy? I don't know. He's still the best guy. He can still have any fucking job he wants. He could probably bang most girls. He's pretty famous. I don't know. He seems to be doing fine. It's
I mean,
like, he's
yeah, I mean,
good.
just
He's got
Google,
25 million in the bank at least. So,
just Google Bill Belichick ring camera, and you'll see that he's been doing what you just mentioned.
I don't know about this. What is this?
But he was caught on some ring camera in what appears to be a Boston suburb, shirtless, looking for his car keys after a little hit sesh. I mean, it's
My boy
hysterical.
Bill is a savage. That's what.
It's pretty hysterical.
It's amazing.
So I'm not saying that you fit into a mold, DK, but I did expect that answer from you. And I also expect what Ray's about to say from him. So Ray, has the last 4 years changed or hurt his legacy in your opinion?
Hurt a little, sure, but like I said, it's not something where he goes from the best coach to the worst coach ever. So I once again, I am
Well,
someone
right.
I have been clamoring from 2020 that this should have been done. So, and I got killed for it then, and that's fine. But I'd rather be ahead of the curve than to have a different answer now.
Well, Mike made a great point to that point the other day on the other show. He said Bill Belichick himself's the one that said he'd rather cut a guy a year early than a year late. Right. And
right.
like, he didn't do that for himself. And I mean, you were right. You're probably right. That looking back, 2020 probably was the fucking year if it was going to happen now.
Yeah.
Anyway, without any success in between.
Right. But that's my thing though. I didn't want it to get to this point. I didn't want him to become Tom Landry. I didn't want him to become Chuck Noll. Because in my mind, he's head and shoulders above them. I didn't want it to become that. So why not remember all the good and just say, okay, hey, you know what? Tom's gone. Let's just reboot altogether. And they chose not to do that because their egos, Kraft and Bill, thought, you know what? We can still do X, Y, and Z. And that wasn't the case. That's it. They went 7-9 with Cam. Once again, they were a few fumbles away from going, 9-7. As we knew that year. Then obviously, you go 10-7, max rookie year. Looks like they're on the up and up. And then you get involved, you get your ego involved, and you bring in Matt Patricia, and he comes in and they go 8-9. But then obviously this year they go 4-13. So it shouldn't have got to this point. And because of impatient fans like myself at times, they're gonna think it's tainted because you're looking at the recency bias. They went 4-13. That's fucking terrible. But like I said, to me, I just felt like, yeah, it only tastes a little bit because it should have been done a few years ago, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so. It doesn't, in my opinion, hurt his legacy. But what it does do is reaffirm the fact that he's not this myth, right? That he is just like the rest of us. That once you start
agree with that. I really don't agree with.
But here's why I have that opinion is because starting in about 2016, it became pretty evident that that they weren't actually building up the roster the way that they used to. There weren't people to replace other people. And that was the same for the coaching staff too. To Bill's credit, one thing that he did from 2001 to 2016, when Charlie Weiss left, he had Josh McDaniels. When Josh McDaniels left, he had Billy O'Brien. When Romeo Crennel left, he took over for a little while, but then you had Matt Patricia. And I don't think Matt Patricia's great, but he was fine when he was here. The same thing can be said about Ty Law.
First time. He was fine when he was there the first time.
Yeah, but like you went from Ty Law to Asante Samuel to nobody, and then he started paying for corners with Aqib Talib, Darrelle Revis, and Stephon Gilmore, right? Like it felt like the pipeline started going, which is why I believe in 2016, if he just said, listen, I want to keep winning championships, but I'm going to need more help in the personnel department. And if he had stepped away from that role, he wouldn't be fired today if he was just the coach. I promise. If he relinquished some of that, some of his power, and he was just the head coach, he'd still be here. Because what we saw this year is that was a 4-13 team. They were a couple bad decisions away from being, let's just say, like a 6 or 7 win team. But that roster was a 1 or 2 game winning roster. But he put it together. Right. So his coaching, in my opinion, like his coaching legacy can't be tarnished because we always talk about the Cam Newton year. That he should have won Coach of the Year for what he did with in that season. Because that was just like to your point, right? 3 fumbles away from a 10-win team with a quarterback that everyone threw away. Like they took the Chiefs to the limit with oh God, who was it? It was Brian Hoyer and Jared Stidham.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, So
I also think it was a stroke of genius bringing a guy like Cam Newton in to be essentially the immediate follow-up act to Tom Brady, because he has wide, broad shoulders. Like, as much as you can criticize Cam Newton for some of his play in his later years, or not fucking up his Super Bowl chance, I think that he does have the personality where he can sort of take media scrutiny, and he can take, and he can absorb that for the sake of the team. And I do think that was a stroke of genius on his part, bringing that guy specifically in.
Yeah.
Because if you try to develop a Mac Jones, I mean, it still sort of happened to Mac Jones. Maybe that's the reason, maybe it's not. But if you try to develop a Mac Jones or a Jarrett Stidham in the you're not Tom Brady scrutiny era, like that first 3 to 4 years where Tom's like still in the league, then there's a 0% chance that quarterback succeeds. So like, as an aside, I do really think that was fucking genius. But nobody's saying that he's the greatest GM of all time. You know what I mean? Like, I agree. I'm agreeing with you. Like, his coaching legacy can't be tarnished because he basically fucked himself as the GM. And I think we all know that, right?
Yep.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, and no, to add to that, like I said, from the GM thing, like there's plenty of picks that went wrong. I mean, guys that come to name, Chad Jackson, Razai Dowling, Jawan Williams, Aaron Dobson, like you name it. Like there was so many guys that were picked where you're just like, man, like what are we doing?
We had to cover up.
Right, but I'm like, I just right, yeah, I ready to cover up, but I'm like, I just heard the story about Gronkowski when he was on Names with Games podcast with Jules, and he was like, I came in there hungover, and O'Brien's like, hey, like, what does the receiver do on this play? He was like, look, just throw me the fucking ball. So, and I guess, and at that time, that was taboo up here. Like, you're not gonna not study the game and not know the game and be on the team, but because, I guess of his overwhelming stature, meaning Gronkowski, that's why he ended up drafting him, and he lucked into getting, one of the greatest tight ends of all time. So I don't know. I just like, I think about that 2010 draft kind of saved his career even then, because they had already went 7-8 years without making or winning the Super Bowl at that time, and people were looking at him kind of side eye with a side eye then. But
and the 2012-2013 draft when he had Dante Hightower and Chandler Jones. So,
but to that point, Ray, like that, what you're essentially also saying is he really had 4 eras where he had to build a great team, and he succeeded in 3 of those 4 eras, right? Like the first,
but he didn't build the 01 through 04 team. That was Parcells.
I guess he can't get credit for that. That's fair enough. But it's still 4 if you take it from 04 onwards, right? Because when you have the 04 to 2010 run, then you have 2011 to probably, I guess it's 3. If you include this last one where he fails. But he succeeds more than he fails. Like, he builds 2 himself great teams, right? And like, it's not really looking into Rob Gronkowski if you go, draft him. Like, he's really good.
But his biggest blind spot or deficiency from like an outsider's perspective is that he treated the quarterback position like every other position. He thought he could just go find.
But that was true of the league when he became a master of the league. Like the game changed around him, and he didn't keep up with it. That isn't necessarily from a GM perspective. That doesn't necessarily denigrate, I don't think, what his football mind is when it comes, because that was fucking true. Like, you could go and win a Super Bowl with fucking, I don't know, like you could go win a Super Bowl fucking Troy Aikman. Like, honestly, you know what I mean? And like, you can't do that anymore. Like, you just can't.
Yeah,
so,
even before that, right? I think obviously, he was the coordinator for the Giants. I think the worst thing was that he saw Parcells win with
Phil Simms.
And
then
who sucked. And then win with Jeff Hostetler. I think I'm saying
because you could do that back then.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So that's the worst part. But it's like, even in that era, if you wasn't Montana, Staubach, Plunkett, or Bradshaw, you didn't win a championship. So it's still always been about, you have to have at least a decent quarterback to win.
I don't know. The Trent Dilfer argument comes in here. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm talking even before that. I'm Trent Dilfer.
Sure. To me. No, it's always obviously been an important position. No one's saying that it's not like, obviously you need a good quarterback. Like, obviously that's true. And like, or at least a quarterback who's not going to fuck up when it like,
He doesn't believe that.
but that's not true anymore is the thing. Like, that's not true anymore. Now you need a great quarterback. Like, now you need a guy that can go and win you a fucking game from that position. That's it. It's decided. You're not going to see a Trent Dilfer win another Super Bowl unless the rules and the game go through another amalgamation like we've seen over the last, I'd say, 15
Or
years.
even a Brad Johnson, same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just think that changed around him and his offenses didn't keep up with that. And I think the thing that I would hang this failure on personally is the staffing. I think the thing that he really did egregiously and he really made egregious mistakes with was he didn't bring any real minds into his inner circle over that last period. He like, even say what you will about McDaniels and the kind of head coach that he became. And, my opinions on visor head coaches. And I mean, just point to Doug Peterson this season and the way that the Jacksonville Jaguars flamed out. I don't obviously respect McDaniels as a head coach, but there was eras early on in his offensive coordinator years where he looked like one of the best minds in football for some of the innovations he was making. Did that sustain? No. But you bring guys like that in and they keep you young.
Right.
Like they keep you young and alive. They keep the spirit of the place around. And instead, I think he brought in people that sort of just looked at him like, what do we do, Dad? And it's like, or sometimes literally, what do we do, Dad? And it's like, I think that's where he fucked up because you have those guys in the room with you when you're drafting as the GM, right? The coach / GM. And you go, what do you think of this dude? And he's like, I see, there's guys in there that see something that you don't see because their minds are more modernized to the game. And like that, I think is where he really failed himself and the team. And I think he might've believed his own myth a little bit in that sense where he was like, doesn't matter. I'll figure it.
Yeah, because
It doesn't matter.
I think it was
That's just speculation.
2011, 2012, when he instituted the rule that there would be no coaching titles on the staff. And that you can draw a clear line there. That's when he stopped bringing in newer faces to the regime and filling up the coaching pipeline too. So, well, it's all just one team. But don't worry, I'm the head coach. But your titles, like they don't really matter.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess I don't blame him for thinking that.
No,
yeah.
Ray, when would you say that this all started to go wrong? Like in your opinion? And now remember, wrong is it's relative. It's a 24-year run where we went to 13 conference championships.
I would say right after the Philadelphia Super Bowl. I feel like that's what they started to go south. I think I told a story on here before, but it is relevant to this conversation. When I was teaching in Miami, Ricky Jean-Francois, who was on the team that went to the Super Bowl against Philly and lost, he's from the Carroll City area, came in here talking to the kids, and I recognized who he was, and I was like, wait, I said, you know what, I'm just gonna ask him. I was like, the kids are working, fuck it, I'm gonna ask him. I said, hey, can I talk to you for a second? I said, I don't know how much you're going to, man, but just what kind of happened behind the scenes? I felt like you guys weren't kind of connected the way that, you guys have been in years past. And he was like, it all was in the middle of the season, He said, Brady walks into the office and he looks at Kraft and Belichick and says, it's either me, meaning Garoppolo, or it's either me or him. Y'all fucking decide. And walks out. And obviously we got the news week 8 saying that Jimmy Garoppolo had got traded to San Francisco. And that changed the dynamic for that team from the rest of the year, he said. He was like, all that. So
because the other part of that story is that Bill chose Jimmy.
Yep.
And Robert chose Tom Brady, which again, that's another. So after Jimmy, which is the 2014 draft, there's no other prominent quarterback, or even like not prominent, but even like a flyer that they're going to tape that they think could turn into a starting quarterback anymore. It's just, they had, for someone who in 2014 knew, and he said, we all are aware of Tom Brady's contract or age and contract situation. After that, he never tried to backfill him.
Yep.
And maybe that's because he felt like his legs were cut off by ownership. But so DK, if you could pinpoint, so Ray thinks it's like right around 2017. Do you think that the wheels ever fell off of this thing while Brady was still here? Like, do you have a year or a time frame where you could actually point to now and say, all right, this is when there were cracks?
No, while Brady was in New England. No, I mean, honestly, it's kind of proven because you could go and get him. If they had just gone and got him like 2 wide receivers, he might have won him another Super Bowl. So it's like, at any point while Tom Brady's in your organization, you can make a correction and probably be a contender. So no, but after, I just think that, kind of what we were saying before, it's like the decisions that got made during that, like there's probably 3 key moments, right? There's the loss to Philadelphia in the Super Bowl. There's the decision to draft and stick with Mac Jones, which for a year sort of looks like an okay decision. And then there's the chickens coming home to roost moment where all the mistakes of the past and the layers of your different coaching staff and teams sort of aren't there to be filled. The gaps aren't there to be filled. And I think the biggest one is probably Tom Brady didn't walk away from a team full of weapons and great and a great offensive line and really smart quarterbacks coach. Like he didn't walk away from like a wonderful situation already, but once he leaves, like that is when the wheels come off for your team. Like when a great quarterback walks away from a quarterback that great, but even a lesser one walks from your franchise, you're sort of supposed to go through a post greatness slump. It happens to everybody except for the Packers. So I wonder, I wonder what, yeah. And then I think that's a personal affront to me. But I wonder though what would have happened if he was able to plug and play somebody else into a dynamic offense. He was able to rebuild another good defensive unit. Like he's successful at that, regardless of how they look this year. The momentum of the season and the coaching and et cetera, et cetera. But I mean, I like a lot of the players on your guys' defense, and I think that whoever comes in can do a lot with that. He also, and it's another reason why Vrabel probably is a perfect fit because you have a good running back and you have a decent defense. So those are the 2 things Mike Vrabel really needs to succeed. So, I wouldn't be surprised. But offensively, like he just never really was able to replicate what Ray was saying earlier, which was like getting the best tight end of all time in there, like getting a 5'9.5" white guy to play slot and revolutionize the position. Getting generational offensive linemen. Like you're gonna see that the offensive linemen that enter the Hall of Fame for like from 2003, 4 to like probably 2016 are most of them are going to be Patriots. Like unbelievable selections at O-line. And like I can name more Patriots offensive linemen than I can Bears offensive linemen over the past like 15 years, I think, because like there were so many really great ones. And he just stopped being able to do that for whatever reason. And I do think that we're coming to the conclusion here that it's because he stopped prioritizing it, which is so crazy. That's nuts.
To your point, and Ray, you can jump in on this one too. Like Troy Brown, Wes Welker, Julian Edelman, Jacoby Myers, and he didn't want to pay him. Like that was the one position that he actually backfilled.
Do you think he was like, there's so many good wide receivers? There's so many good wide receivers. Like there's a glut of wide receivers in this position, but like it's actually not true. There's actually not that many good wide receivers. There's a lot of great athletes in that position, but the way that cornerbacks are now and the way that schemes are run now, like unless you fit this really specific archetype where you excel, whether you're like a playmaker that can like, do the San Francisco 49ers thing where you just get me the ball. Like it doesn't matter if it's on the line of scrimmage. There's not like 5 great deep threats in the NFL anymore. Like there was a time where it was like, oh shit, like who's the best guy at jumping over another guy and getting the ball in the end zone on like a 40-yard toss. Like that was always the question. That's not the archetype of a wide receiver anymore. So like that moved on under his nose a little bit too, right? And he was probably like, I don't know, there's so many great. You just get a good athlete, you can coach him up. Like I can see that as a piece of logic for that position. Like it's not like Wes Welker was supposed to be as good as he was, or Danny Amendola or like any of these guys. Like he made him into these skill positions.
He gave Danny Amendola $13 million more than he ever offered Wes Welker, which is why Welker left.
Not paying them is weird. I will. I'm not defending him as a GM. I'm not here to do that. But I can see at least the process.
Luckily that worked out because what
Yeah.
Amendola did in the postseason was fucking outrageous. He's one of the best postseason performers of all time at that position. Him and Edelman. So like I can't argue that one, but yeah, I mean, you would have liked to see him take care of a guy that had 5 straight 100 catch seasons here, but hey,
he didn't need to because he
Yeah.
backfilled it. He did that the right thing.
He did. Yeah. And
But also like this last offseason, like the most no-brainer thing of it for any team in this past offseason, like the thing that everybody knew that a team had to do was the Patriots going and getting DeAndre Hopkins to give Mac Jones like at least some semblance of an opportunity
And
to
keep Jacoby Myers.
to win and keep Jacoby Myers. Yes, but I mean the fact I was like, it's cool. You're gonna go get D-Hop. It's gonna be fine. Like that just seems like that's a done deal. It's a match made in heaven. Like he's gonna love playing for Bill Belichick. Like, and then you would have removed Mac Jones' excuses sooner. Is the thing. Like if he couldn't play with DeAndre Hopkins, say what you will about his offensive line, nobody would have had any patience for him after like week 3. Because it's like, you have fucking D-Hop, dude. Just throw it in that general vicinity. Like it's fine. So that by that point, I think he had lost his fucking marbles. To be honest with you, because I'm like, bro, he's right there. Like you guys have so much cap space. Like just figure it out. Like just find a number. But I don't know. I'm not in the office.
So Ray, who do you ultimately blame for this unfolding the way that it did?
I think it's a mix of Bill and Kraft. I think that certain things just wasn't prioritized when it came to winning anymore. And when you go to Super Bowl 9 times or 10 in Robert Kraft's tenure, winning 6 of those, I think you get complacent a little bit. And you can say all the right things in front of the media, say that, oh, winning is this, winning is that, but you're not showing the fan base that winning is at the forefront because you're not making the requisite moves, to make that all happen. And yes, part of it is player development, part of it is drafting. But I just feel like you're in an area, meaning, being in Foxborough, being in New England, this fan base will come to every game. They will continue to sell out. There's going to be 68,000 there all the time. You can afford to go for broke whenever you want to. And they didn't choose to. I mean, they can say what they did in 2021, but I'm talking about like really going to get guys and say, okay, we're going to give you even more money than usual to come here, which is what he did with Gilmore, which, bring Gilmore here, you end up winning. That didn't happen a lot the last 6 or 7 years. And as a result, it led to their demise.
I absolutely blame Robert Kraft. It's Robert Kraft's fault. And to a further extent, I blame capitalism because he's not a great football mind, and yet he was making these decisions because he had the most money. But I mean, really, the wheels came off because of the decisions he made. Right? Like, if you could go back, Mike, you're in the hot seat. You're Robert Kraft. You have $1 billion, and you love fucking happy endings. You're sitting in the office and you're going, all right, I basically got to choose between Tom and Bill. Forget what you know now. I think at the time you would have chose Tom, to be honest with you, knowing you. So to me, it's like, well, you fucked up, Robert,
I don't. So if I'm Kraft in that position, I would have chose Bill.
I would have too.
But I blame Bill for having that be a choice because it should have been Bill's responsibility, and he should have seen
tango. Tom's got to take some of the responsibility for that too. Because Tom owed a lot to Bill Belichick by the time he got there.
Right, but by the time he got there, Tom Brady had already taken what you can, in today's dollars, about $130 million in pay cuts to make sure that the team over the course of the 18 years could be stacked.
He always did do that. Valid, very valid.
You know who Bill needs to thank though, and we joked about this on the show before, but he needs to thank Mo Lewis. That's who you need to thank.
No, I don't. Sure, I know what you're saying, but Belichick never wanted to keep more than 2 quarterbacks on the roster, and he kept 4, and Brady was the 4th because he saw something in Brady that nobody else did. Like
so did Mo Lewis.
we can't knock him. I will never knock him for that. But
funny you use the word knock.
But the post
is Mo Lewis the guy who injured Bledsoe?
Yeah,
Almost killed him. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
got it. Love it.
Listen, he deserves to be in the Patriots Ring of Honor for that hit alone.
I honestly think that's like, I don't really believe in a deity, but I think that's kismet. You know, like that was like a lightning bolt from the fucking sky. That was destiny. Was that
Yeah.
moment when
Yeah.
he got and had to walk off that field and fucking homeboy. When you watch the tape back, when it cuts to Tom Brady's face and he's like, "Oh fuck," you're just like, yeah, that's that moment. Like that defines the next 25 years of football. So I mean, I love that. Like yeah, that's the best injury that's ever happened in the NFL to the
So
whole league.
before I want to talk about like what we think is going to happen next. I just want to. This doesn't need to be like a long thing, but has it hit? I'm just going to tell you how I feel, and you both can riff off of that. It hasn't really hit me that all of the pieces of the dynasty are actually gone now, right? Because Brady left, and the Patriots could suck, but when Bill's on the sideline, you still feel like they are the Patriots. They're Bill Belichick and the Patriots, and like it's now that's gone. That's 68% of our lives on this planet that this man has been the head coach of the Patriots, and it's over. Like, has that hit either of you the way that it's hit me?
Not until you just said it right there, to be honest with you, because you know what it is like I accepted truly in my heart that it was never gonna, because every other fan base, myself included, for years and years, especially growing up in New England, had to, just endure the smug fuckery of you guys for so long. And every time a new era would end, I would be like, okay, this is the one. All right. All right. They're finally done. Okay. I remember the ball being on the whatever 2-yard line in the Seahawks Super Bowl and being like, finally, finally. And that means it had already been a while. You know what I mean? Like, it had already, like, because it had been a while since then. So I was like, finally, it's happening. We're not gonna have to watch these two just because it doesn't ever go on that long. Like
Right.
that level of dominance doesn't ever go on that long in any sport ever. So you're like, it has to be now. It has to be now. And then I think it finally happened once I sort of like released myself to the universe. I was like, I'm never gonna decide ever again. And it was the Falcons Super Bowl where I did this. I was like, I'm never gonna decide ever again that they're done. I'm never going to say he's not the best QB of all time ever again. I'm never going to say, I just had to submit to the gods of football and be like, this is what I witnessed in my time. I was not lucky enough to be a fan of this team. That I've witnessed it. It's a level of greatness I doubt I'll ever see my team reach or any other team reach. So I'm running out of time. If the Bears are going to match this, they have to start like tomorrow if I want to see it happen in my lifetime. So, I really hope they do something good with that number 1 overall pick. But I mean, yeah, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be really weird walking into the first Sunday of the NFL season, which is already a holy day for all of us. It's a sacrosanct day for all of us. And to go in, it is. I think that's when it's really going to you're really going to get the full gravity of it because you're going to see him in a different outfit, most likely.
Yeah.
You're going to see him wearing the colors of a different team. I don't know what team like magically fits him though. I don't like with the, you guys keep saying like Vrabel and the Patriots, and I'm starting to see it. I'm starting to see why the dots align. I don't know where would his ideal place be? I have no idea, but yeah, sorry, Ray, please.
I just want to put out right before you go, you were 10 years old the last time you were 9 years old the last time the Patriots were playing a football game and Bill Belichick was on the sideline.
Yeah, crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, we was looking at Pete Carroll in a Patriot uniform. We went from Parcells to Carroll to Bill. Which are 3 coaching legends in their own right. Pete Carroll wasn't great here in New England. Obviously, he had to get his dominance in college, and then he did what he did in Seattle. But to answer your original question, no. It hasn't set in yet. I think it would have been a little different if we knew he was going to be just on the couch with Nike in the fall, but that's not going to be the case. I think he goes out west. I think he goes out west to LA. It just makes sense. Like why go to another cold weather area? Go to California. It's sunny. You can go golf if he likes to golf. You got a guy that has talent in Justin Herbert. You got Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler, Derwin James, and the crew. My only thing is with the Chargers, they can never stay healthy, so that might frustrate him because his number one motto for years has always been your best ability is your availability. So that might deter him from being.
It's also funny how many times he like actively clowned that franchise in the playoffs. Like the things
Like
he
every
did to,
time.
like if he went to the Chargers specifically, I agree with you because it has the biggest like talent to shitty coaching ratio. Like the coach getting fired, it's like everyone knew that was the coach's fault. Like they have good players on that team, and like you just plug in Bill Belichick, and it could be a match made in heaven. But I think it's funny because it's like I remember LaDainian Tomlinson having like a fucking meltdown on the field, and I remember Bill Belichick being like, "Do you feel my dick fucking your mind right now?" Like that's what happened today. Like I fucked you with my mind penis, and they're all just despondent. And then for him to come in there, like how would that fan base that are our age, like that remember that feel? I wonder. They'd be like, "Fine, fuck it, whatever. We're so beat up, just like please win us some games," or would they be like, I fucking hate that guy?
Right.
So where do you think he's going to go, DK?
That would be cool. I think the Chargers would be really cool. I think the Falcons would be really weird for some reason. I don't like it. Would just really strange. It would be really strange to me to see him coach the Falcons. The culture just doesn't seem to add up in my head. Maybe I'm just pulling that out of my ass, but if he goes somewhere like Carolina, like that's going to be so bad. Like that team's in such a bad spot. Like it doesn't matter how good of a head coach he is. So that we're going to forget, we're going to be done talking about him after like 3 weeks or 4 weeks. And that's just won't be fair. So he's got to go somewhere with some weapons. I think the Chargers probably is the best bet for him, to be honest. Seattle would be kind of cool.
So I think the way I think he's going to approach this, I'll throw it to you, Rays. I don't know if I think he wants to win a Super Bowl for sure, but he needs a 3-year window and he needs the record. Right. So
how many games did he need to win?
15.
Oh,
so like that eliminates Carolina. That's done. But he's not because he'd have to pull out a coaching performance of his life to get 5 wins a season. Ray, where do you think he's going to go? I think maybe I have a hot take.
Oh no, I just talked about the Chargers. But if you want me to give me a team, I can. I could see him staying within the division and go to Buffalo.
Oh fuck! I don't want that.
If some women don't get it done,
I want that. That'd be awesome.
He goes to Buffalo and just goes crazy with Allen and because my thing is we talked about coaching before. We talked more about basketball because we're so mad about how things ended up there with the coaching situation. But if you could coach guys from the neck up, because Josh Allen has all the other records for talent, coaching him from the neck up, where it's like, look, give him the mindset that like, yo, there's no one that can fuck with me on this field. Once again, of course, there's Mahomes, other people may be better, but it put someone like Bill next to him and say, hey, there's no one that can mess with you on this field. Like you are the guy. You're the guy that's gonna bring us to X, Y, and Z. And that would be scary, in my opinion. So yeah, I feel like if McDermott don't get it done, they say, hey, come up to Orchard Park.
That is a hot take. So I think
I feel like I know where you're going with yourself too. So
I have him. I think he's going to go to Atlanta.
Atlanta. Wow. Okay, that's not what I thought.
Well, that's what I think is going to happen. But my hot take would be, so I think in my gut it's Atlanta. I think because that division's soft right now, so he could probably go there right now. That team already won 8 games without him. I think he's exponentially better than Arthur Smith, and I also think that is it Arthur Blank? Is that the name of the owner? I think that there's something intangible in him that just says, I need to go out and acquire the head coach that came back from being down 28-3 against my team and him break Don Shula's record wearing my uniform. So I think he could go there, win 9 games a season and be fine.
It's so funny that he's just fucked every girl at the party. Like there's any franchise we name, there's like a moment you can point out where it's like, and he's the guy that did this to them.
And they play to his strengths right now, because I assume if he's going to go somewhere that he's going to have a general, I don't know about majority rule over the personnel, but probably mostly they do need a quarterback, but fine, whatever. their offensive line got better. They have what should be a great running back, good tight end, good wide receiver, and their defense is getting better. So he'll just draft good defensive players, which he could do in the first couple of rounds. He always did. If Dallas loses this weekend, Bill Belichick's going to be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys next year.
Yeah,
that's my hot take.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because
that would be so funny.
Because, I mean, he was essentially just blowing Jerry Jones at the week of the Dallas game. Like, he loves him. Jerry Jones loves him too. And
I would honestly not be surprised if Jerry Jones fucking fired McCarthy just on the ground of not winning a Super Bowl.
Yeah, or getting to one.
That's so I mean, I think, but yeah, that's actually a really great call. That could happen.
I wish Bobby was here, but he's not. So I'm going to ask you in his place, both of you. What, as a Cowboy fan, so let's just transform ourselves into a Cowboy fan. What would you rather? Mike McCarthy gets the team to the Super Bowl this year, and he keeps his job for next year, or they lose this weekend and then they hire Bill Belichick.
I would not want to see my team get to a Super Bowl and lose ever. That's worse than them in there. Trust me, it's the only thing I've seen the Bears do in regards to a Super Bowl in my life. Bill Belichick, hands down. Whatever happens, yeah. And another. I'm a Cowboys fan, right? In this role playing scenario. Another terribly embarrassing wild card loss for my team. You think I haven't endured those in the past? Right. I've seen many an embarrassing wild card loss. In fact, most of the time to the team we're playing this weekend. So fucking shoot me in the dick. Get me Bill Belichick. Yes, absolutely. Like, I mean, they're all sitting in Dallas right now, or actually none of them are. Most of them are sitting in other parts of the world right now being like, I think we're going to lose this weekend, to be honest. Like, that's how they're all thinking. So, and I think they're going to fucking lose this weekend, to be honest with you, just because it's the Packers, to be honest. I think that it's just that they have that thing. Yeah, but
won't throw it past to Dobbs at the,
yes, you're going to see the momentum right away.
Two was left. It's going to go 45 yards. Dobbs is going to catch it on the line. So it's fucking wild.
Oh, you can just see it. And also, just at the end of the day, the Dallas Cowboys are always next man up. Like, they're already, they're just like, fuck it, we're already out on McCarthy. They're already out on that guy, and quite frankly, if he does lose to the Packers this weekend, regardless of the Bill Belichick situation, he fucking deserves to be fired. So, then you just go to this really hot coaching market right now with like all these fucking sexy choices and you get your best guy, because the day that Dallas fires their coach will only come second in attractiveness of offer to the day Philadelphia fires their coach. And both of those things are probably coming up in the next month. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, that's what Bill needs to do. He just needs to wait and see. He just needs to sit there and wait for one of those two job opportunities to open up. Because honestly, I think the third most attractive coaching vacancy this season is Chicago, with the amount of draft capital and things that they have going for them. And they're not going to fire their fucking coach, apparently. So, fuck me, right? Yeah. Bill will have Philadelphia and Dallas to choose from, which I didn't think about, and it's so true, and that's a no-brainer.
Ray, but if you're a Cowboy fan, would you rather get to a Super Bowl and lose, and Mike McCarthy comes back next year, or lose this weekend and Bill Belichick is your head coach next year?
I'd rather just get Bill. Yeah. Yeah, getting to the Super Bowl and losing, once again, we've seen a few. We missed out on what would have been the greatest team of all time. So
that's the one that hurts.
Yeah, that's the one that hurts. So yeah, so I'd rather be out early, get a guy that's beyond proving. Even I know Mike McCarthy's won a Super Bowl, but it's a whole different.
Can I also just say, if you're answering that question while you're listening to this podcast is I'd rather get to a Super Bowl and lose, because then at least we got to a Super Bowl, you're a fucking loser. You're a fucking loser with a loser's mentality. And that's why your life's not working out the way you thought it would. So just, it's fucking win or go home. You're on a fucking New England Patriots podcast essentially right now, asking a New England Patriots fan, what would you rather do? They don't fucking hang banners for getting to Super Bowls in fucking New England. But if they're hanging banners in Dallas for getting there, then they're never going to fucking win one. So who fucking needs you anyway? You go get a winner. If that still means McCarthy's not a winner.
But the premise of the question means that they actually showed growth and got to the first one since the last one at 20 years ago.
Fuck that.
Almost 30 years ago.
Getting to the Super Bowl and losing, and you're choosing that? This is your own hypothetical. This is your imagination. and you can't even
I mean,
win a Super Bowl in your
I'm
own.
not choosing. I'm
No, not
choosing
you,
them.
but like I'm talking to the people that probably are sitting there listening and going like, I'd rather just get there. It's your imagination. You can't even win a Super Bowl in your wildest dreams. Dallas Cowboy fans, come on, Jesus.
So neither Bill nor the Patriots can make a decision on what they're going to do next until after the divisional round for head coaches. But for GMs, you can start interviewing now. Ray, what do you think the Patriots are going to do? Like, how distraught would you be as a Patriot fan if they bring back Matt Groh as the GM, who was the same one that's been picking with Bill for the last 4 years?
I'd be out. I'd be out. I'd call up Dave and say, "Hey, you got any room, buddy? I'm done. I'm serious. I'd be done. Like I'm not
First
laughing.
overall pick.
I'm not laughing. I'm joking. I'll talk to Dave in the offseason and say, "Hey, is there any room for me, buddy, to come on? You got Fields. We're gonna get MHJ. We got DJ Moore, baby. Let's rock."
I would love it. We'd love to have you.
Yeah.
Sucks over.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm like, it's fucking no, like, no, like, where's that Office meme? I'll turn into Michael Scott. No, God, no. Like that's where I'd be at because, I want to clean house as much as possible. That's where I'm at. So
would you consider Dimitrov?
I'd rather
Dimitrov back?
Say it again.
Would you consider bringing Dimitrov back as cleaning house? Because I would.
Well, I mean, he's down in Atlanta, isn't he?
No, he left Atlanta in 2018.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so yeah, I mean, maybe him because he has some more success. Even Dave Ziegler, maybe I'd rather that than Matt Groh. Matt Groh's no better than any three of us putting together. Wow, so he's fucking terrible. He's a joke.
Yeah, the only person I have in my mind is Dimitrov because he has some familiarity with Bill, but he also defied Bill. Bill called him when Julio Jones was on the board and said there's no real difference between Julio Jones and some asshole that they got like 3 catches in the league for the next 3 years. And Dimitrov was like, okay, thanks, Bill. Then he drafted Julio Jones. So like,
well, that was the right thing to do.
right. Bill wouldn't have done it though. It's the same value if you can just do the other thing. As far as head coaching, Gerard Mayo signs. We're told that he signed with the team last year with the promise and the intent that he would be the next man up. My thought here is that was crafted with the understanding that he'd be inheriting a team that was already rebuilt and successful, and Bill was leaving him after the record, so like the next year or two. But now that they're 4-13, do you think, DK, that first year head coach only ever coached or learned how to coach under Bill Belichick? Do you think that it'd be the right decision to stick with Gerard Mayo as the head coach?
No, I think the idea that coming back to the old Patriot way and not sticking with the kind of more modern Patriot way is the move. And I think there's a lot of guys you can go get that fit that mold. I think there's a scenario where they go get Trey Brown from the Bengals for obvious reasons. And I think that automatically gets you a Gerard Mayo head coach because I think they have a lot of connections with one another. I don't like the look of that team. I think the guy I was touting for the Bears general manager position is the 49ers assistant GM at the Adam Peters is his name. Obviously John Lynch has done a great job over there in San Francisco, but like a lot of people are very high on his assistant GM, and he's going somewhere to be a GM next season. I think you get him and you bring in Vrabel right away. I think he's fine with that. I think you turn around and just say like, we're linking you guys up. Like, this is going to be your head coach. These are the reasons why. We've cleared the entire house. Please pick every other position, but it's you two in tandem. You have some meetings. But it's you two in tandem, and we're going to start completely fresh. We've got cap space, and you guys are in charge of the whole ship. So hopefully you work together well. You probably have to establish a clear hierarchy there and if it were me, I would say he's the GM, but he's the senior role here. Like,
Right.
He's the guy who's making the decision. So if we decide to move on we're not like the Bears made this mistake by kind of linking Eberflus and Poles in a weird sort of tandem, even though Poles hired Eberflus. It was like if one goes, they both go kind of a thing. And I think it's not that. You say like, we go and get Adam Peters. You're in charge of the next 10 years, for better or for worse. You're going to make this fucking team what it's going to be. But we're giving you Mike Vrabel as your first head coach. So like, do it.
But in that instance, and I'll open this up to you too, Ray. If you go out and you find a GM with the understanding that you already know who you're going to pick as next head coach, aren't you cuckolding them? Like, shouldn't you let them make that decision? You're on mute.
You're muted.
Yeah, I mean, that's a wild word to use, but I mean, that's exactly what's going on.
I didn't say he was going to fuck his wife. I just said he was like, this is the team we're bringing in from the jump.
Yeah, but if you're a GM and you're like, and Kraft is like, we really want you. Like, you're doing a great job over as the assistant.
No, maybe you say like, please take him under strong consideration. Wink, wink.
We love everything that you're doing, but we're gonna hire you. But your head coach is Rod Mayo. Like, it's like what? You can't do that. I'm still high up on Ben Johnson. I don't know if either of you have fallen off.
I don't think you're gonna get him. I don't think you're gonna get
Bobby Slowick. Either one would be fine.
Obviously, I wanted Ben Johnson too, but you're not getting him.
Yeah. I think because he's probably going to command, 15 to 16 million a year. And although that might be a going rate, I don't see Kraft saying, okay, with a starting brand new, I'm bringing in someone that the fans don't really know. Or that most fans don't really know. Once again, we're diehard, it's a little different. But most fans will know that name. So he's going to want someone that resonates with the fan base, someone that knows the Patriot way. And, so that should be Vrabel in that regard.
But it helps him in that case, right? It helps whoever the GM.
It helps.
Because it covers him for the first few years. You pitch it to him like that.
It does, but it's like, if they end up hiring Vrabel, which is, I feel like is very likely, for better or worse, you lose Mayo. You do. Whether it's physically or mentally, you lose him. Because if you promised him, right? If you promised him, hey, it's going to be X, Y, and Z if it went Bell leaves, and then you bring in somebody else to be the head coach. Now, the only reason why I don't want Mayo to be a head coach, and you guys probably know where I'm going with this, if they were to go 4-13 again next year,
he'd be fired.
Jerome Mayo would never get a head coaching job again in the NFL. Ever.
Yeah, I think
that's where that's really the reason why I don't want it. It's not because I don't think he can't coach. I just don't want them to suck next year, which is very likely, and I don't want him to be stigmatized to that, saying, "Well, it's his fault." I don't want that. So let that fall on Vrabel or somebody else, not him.
Are you sure he would never get a job ever again? That wouldn't really be his fault. I mean, it's like at that point he had the same.
Logically.
He's a black head coach. He's a black head coach. Yeah, he would. You
know how it goes. And me and you have had. Me and you have done many.
I guess I didn't think about that part.
But that's why I think
you're right.
If Robert went to him and said, "Hey, listen, I know what our intention was.
I don't want to put you in the firing line.
I was trying to set you up with a soft landing. This is not that. Like,
right.
If you want to stay on it as a defensive coordinator, and once the cokehead Steve Belichick gets out of here, and then and work yourself up and take interviews, like you can do that. But I just don't want to see, because a small part of me thinks that in March of this year, Matt Rose the GM, Gerard Mayo is the head coach, Bill O'Brien is the offensive coordinator, and Steve Belichick is the defensive coordinator. So why the fuck did you fire Bill?
Yeah, that wouldn't make any sense.
Why would Steve leave to go with his dad, though? Why would he stay?
Why not? Something about not working under your father.
All the coordinators are gone too. You can take that as a
I hope so.
Yeah, they're all gone. Like, unless you bring Mayo back to be the head coach, that's I don't think he's even going to bring everybody back.
Steve Belichick should not be here next season. Period.
I agree. My ideal.
Can we kill him?
Office, no. My ideal.
Whoa.
He shouldn't be on this earth with that fucking haircut.
So I'll start, and you two give me yours, and then we can wrap this bitch up. My dream for next year is Dimitrov as the GM, Vrabel as the head coach. I'm okay with Josh McDaniels coming back as the offensive coordinator, and I want Brian Flores to come back as defensive coordinator.
I'd even take Flores as the head coach.
I wouldn't.
He did just fine in Miami right before they let his ass go.
No, he didn't. No, he was confrontational.
Record the last season before he left.
Yeah,
that team was dead in the water, and he brought him back.
The players hated him. He did not work with, like, go read all the stories about him now. It wasn't. We need young players, and for some reason he did not do well with the young offensive players in that team. He's doing fine in Minnesota. He did fine in Pittsburgh. He's going to do fine somewhere else. I think he needs to be a head coach of a veteran heavy team, and that's not what we are anymore.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, yeah, I guess him in the coordinator role is fine. I wouldn't be mad at that. But yeah, now that Vrabel is available, I'd take him as the head coach. I'm cool with maybe even Ziegler coming back as the as the GM, and then like I said, I'd keep Mayo as the DC, and then I talked to Arthur Smith about being the OC.
Love that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've obviously looked at both roles like pretty extensively because I'd fired Matt Eberflus in week 7 in my head, but that's not happening. So you can benefit from a little bit of my research. I think you have 3 scenarios. You have the best fit, you have the biggest punt, and you have the best available, right? So best fit to me, Ziegler and Vrabel. Those two become your tandem because they know that they have the experience, the front office, et cetera, et cetera. In that case, I do think you probably get Josh McDaniels back as the OC because of the Ziegler factor, like you were saying, Mike. And if Flores is the DC, I mean, that's a pretty good coaching staff, if you ask me, and a pretty capable, I think, GM, despite what happened in Las Vegas. All that being said, I think the biggest punt, the craziest idea, I'm not 100% sure what the fuck is going on with Pete Carroll over in Seattle, but I think he's hanging around the organization. Is he going into semi-retirement? Whatever. I would love to get him on the phone if I was Robert Kraft, because quite frankly, he's also the best available. Like, if you think about proven pedigree in the NFL, and
already fired him.
He is though. I know, but he went and won. He went and won with, after that. So, and he's a really, really good head coach, and I guess they say, you don't ever go backwards, but I think that's such a different era, it's so long ago that of all the available head coaches right now, he's the one who's gone and won a fucking Super Bowl. Like, you can say what you want about Jim Harbaugh, who I was putting in the category of best fit for my team before we decided again to bring back Matt Eberflus, but I haven't fully processed that news yet. You broke that news to me, by the way. I woke up and saw that text, and I was like, "Son of a fucking bitch!" It fucking ruined the day. But yeah, for me, it's like, yeah, he's won a national championship, but not, that's not the same thing as winning a Super Bowl. And if Pete Carroll's just call him.
He's older though. I don't think
where he's at.
I don't think Pete's gonna
go
back
coached
to
a good first half of the season with the Seahawks this season. I don't know.
I just don't know if Pete's going to go back to a guy that already fired him 26 years later. That doesn't feel like you're setting and it's your craft. I don't think you're setting your franchise up for long-term success by doing that.
No, but I mean, it's not what I would do. It's not what I would do. I would probably go, like I said, Vrabel and Ziegler, but it is an interesting thought experiment,
Yeah.
Just because I feel like Pete Carroll is the guy out there. I feel like he's going to field some phone calls. There's the whole staying around the organization thing, but there's a lot of teams that need a guy who knows how to coach a football team. He's going to get some calls. I would take his temperature. That's all I'm saying.
He's going to be 73 before the season kicks off.
He's spry though. He's one of those young 73s. You see him moving around. He looks like he does Pilates or something. He looks like he's kept his mobility.
This version of Pete Carroll would have been phenomenal here.
Well, I think Pete was just ahead of his time because he's the same Pete. He's a player friendly, and coming off of Parcells, that was the complete opposite. They just weren't, and that team wasn't ready for that. They didn't have enough character guys yet. So we've done it. Talked an hour about again a day that should have never happened the way that it happened. Bill Belichick's no longer the head coach of the GM of the New England Patriots after 24 years. DK Sizzle, any final words on the impact of this day?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I feel I don't mean to get too like soppy or maudlin or anything, but I feel super lucky to have witnessed greatness in my lifetime. I think that like, you know, the Bill Belichicks of the world are the guys that you're going to mention to the next generations. Like when we were getting told about coaches of years gone by and players of years gone by, like we're going to be those old fucks being like, you don't know what it was like when he was at the top of his game, when he had Brady, and like what those teams look like and the way they were able to build like multiple successful teams, and they're the ultimate dynasty in any sport. And we're going to be going on about what we witnessed. And it makes me feel a little old, like it's one of those things that you start to have these little moments happen to you as you age, where it's like, I just watched that movie Saltburn the other night, and it was like a period movie with all my still current favorite songs in it, but it was set in 2006. And I'm like, I guess that's a historical drama now. And it's like, like you said, we're 9 years old when this dude takes this job. I remember vividly the Patriots Rams Super Bowl, and I was still living in Chicago at the time. But I remember vividly the Patriots Rams Super Bowl in 2001 because they were such a massive underdog, and I was cheering for them so hard on that merit. So, and not having no idea really who Bill Belichick was or what was to come, but that guy, he's a staple in all of our sports brains, and I'm sad to see him go.
Yeah, I mean he's our Tom Landry, he's our Chuck Noll, he's our Vince Lombardi.
All the things you didn't want.
Yeah, so he's all
that. You could play those clips next to each other. I don't want him to be Tom Landry. I don't want.
I'm saying them guys coach forever.
Yeah.
They were historical figures. I'm saying all I meant is how it ended.
Of course.
So once again, we got you to see that guy in our lifetime, and yeah, listen, he's still the best ever. It hung on for too long, unfortunately, but the good outweighed the bad, and he's the best ever. And thank you for the 6 rings. Should have been 8, but thank you for 6.
You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become a villain. And that happened to Belichick twice in New England. Like, think about that. That's how long he was here. The impact, I mean, I can speak for myself. I would not be the sports fan that I am now if it had not been for him and everything that he brought. It is going to be absolutely wild opening day next year and him not being on our sideline. But what a day. So for DK Sizzle, Hollywood Rayshawn Buchanan, this is Mike Marcangelo saying thank you for listening to Missing the Point. MTP Boston. We'll talk to you next week.